Have you ever wondered what actually happens behind the closed doors of a formal language exam? Imagine sitting in that chair, your heart is just pounding, and you're waiting to prove your fluency to a total stranger. It can be absolutely terrifying. But today, we're completely demystifying the exact structure of an A2 level English speaking test. We are going to look under the hood of the Let Us Speak method, which is this standardized framework designed specifically for European schools. By the time we wrap up this explainer, you're going to know exactly how these assessments work, literally down to the minute. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our clear, structural roadmap for today's explainer. We'll kick things off by looking at why standardizing the test matters. Then, we'll break down the roles in the exam room. After that, we'll walk step by step through the 4 phases: personal interviews, interactive prompt cards, monologues, and finally, real-world dialogues. Section 1. Standardizing the speaking test, lowering the fear. To really get what this test is all about, we have to understand why it was built in the first place. Educators across Europe realized they had a massive problem. There was a severe lack of standardized speaking tests. And I love this quote because it highlights a truly human-centric mission from the authors. Standardizing the test wasn't just to, harshly rank students. It was actively designed to lower their fear of speaking. Because think about it, when students know exactly what format is coming, their anxiety drops and their true, genuine language skills can actually take center stage. This whole thing was a unified Erasmus Plus initiative. It brought together this incredibly dedicated group of teachers from 4 nations: the Czech Republic, Romania, Turkey, and Bulgaria, and they worked together to create 24 unified A2 tests. So what does this all mean? Well, to put it into perspective, it ensures that whether a student is taking the test in Prague or Bucharest, they are being evaluated on the exact same framework. It levels the playing field completely. Section 2. Roles in the exam room. Who does what? Let's transition into the actual mechanics of the exam room for this 11 to 13-minute test session. So the crucial point is understanding the difference between the 2 examiners in the room, because students are usually tested in pairs. On the left, we have the interlocutor. This is the active examiner. They speak to the students, set the tasks, and conduct the whole flow of the test. On the right, though, we have the assessor. The assessor is totally silent. They sit at a distance and just grade. And here's a fun fact. To keep things perfectly fair and stop the examiners from getting too exhausted, they actually swap these roles every 5 pairs. Now, running these tests flawlessly takes a lot of coordination, so the testing manual uses a clever visual shorthand. See this speaking head icon? When the examiner sees this in their guidebook, it tells the interlocutor exactly when it's their turn to read the scripted text. It completely removes the guesswork. Then there's this bold exclamation mark. This is a huge cue. It signals important instructions, basically reminding the examiner, hey, physically hand over that photograph right now, or make sure you elicit a specific answer from the student if they're being a little hesitant. And finally, these circular arrows. These signal the critical moments of back and forth interaction. This icon reminds the examiner to basically step back and let the conversation happen naturally, either between the 2 students themselves or directly with the examiner. Section 3, Part 1, Personal Interviews. All right, let's look at the very first of the 4 distinct phases students face when they get into the hot seat. Part 1 is a rapid 2 to 3 minute icebreaker. Step 1, the student just states their name and spells their surname. Step 2, they share where they're from. And Step 3, answering familiar questions. The examiner might say, do you have a big family? Or do you get to school by bus? It's entirely designed to get the students comfortable and warm up their vocal cords before things get more intense. Section 4. Part 2, Interactive Prompt Cards. We now move to the collaborative stage, lasting about 3 to 4 minutes. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the information gap exercise. The students have to actually talk to each other without the examiner's help. It's like a giant puzzle. Student 1 gets a card with facts, say a school sports club with 5 clubs like horse riding and tennis, costing £30 a year. Student 2 knows absolutely nothing, but they get prompts like cost or where. So student 2 has to form grammatically correct questions on the fly, and student 1 has to extract the info to answer. After 5 questions, they swap cards. It's brilliant for testing real dynamic communication. Section 5, Parts 3 and 4, Monologues and Dialogues. This brings us to the final, most complex stages of the assessment, where independent speaking skills are truly tested. In Part 3, that safety net of back and forth conversation, it's gone. The interlocutor hands each student a photograph, like this bustling classroom scene here, and asks them to describe it for 1 uninterrupted minute. The other student just sits there and listens. This is the ultimate test of vocabulary and flow, since they have to build a monologue entirely on their own. Then, in part 4, we get to real-world situations. Imagine having to plan a school trip to the zoo with your teacher. You have to figure out what time to meet, what to pack, how much it costs, or pretend you're calling a language school to enroll in Spanish classes and sorting out schedules. The interlocutor role-plays these exact structured dialogues with the students. It's such a practical way to prove they can use English in everyday life. So what has that silent assessor been doing this whole time? Well, during all 4 parts of the test, they've been carefully observing 4 specific grading criteria. They're checking pronunciation for clarity. They're listening to the range of vocabulary. Are they using basic words or solid A2 phrasing? They're monitoring grammar and, critically, interaction. How well does the student actually listen, respond, and engage? Based on those exact criteria, students can be awarded anywhere from 0 to a maximum of 100 points. Literally everything they did, from spelling their name way back in part 1 to booking that zoo trip in part 4, feeds directly into this final standardized score. We've seen how beautifully structured and carefully planned this 13-minute exam is, aiming to lower fear while testing practical abilities. But it leaves us with an absolutely fascinating question. Does standardizing these everyday situations truly prepare students for the messy, totally unpredictable nature of real-world language? It's a really fine line between creating a fair test and simulating real life, isn't it? So think about that the next time you find yourself trying to speak a new language on the fly. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.